Well, hello, White Sox fans, and welcome to another edition of the FutureSox podcast. My name is Ian Eskridge. Joining me is Mr. James Fox. How are you, James?
Good, man. What's going on?
Well, we are finally underway here this season, which is awesome.
It was cool. I
You
wish
know,
we had other affiliates, though. I'm ready.
yeah, that will pick up here,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, and as I do all the video stuff, I'm good with there only being one for
Yeah,
the
you were
first
not.
week.
You were not necessarily. Ready yet.
Yeah, I did not get my butt kicked right out of the gate, so that was nice. It was nice to kind of have like that little ramp up this week to get all the video production stuff kind of up and rolling again, which is good for me. So,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's low scoring so far. So
yeah, yeah, no offense going on at all. Not a, I
the
mean,
last 2
I
days. I
will.
mean, we were at opening day, and they hit 3 homers for us. So that was good. But yeah, you give up 5 runs in a series and lose 2 of the games. I think this is something we're gonna have to get used to, probably.
I think there's going to be a lot of very close games, and the White Sox are probably going to come out on the short end on that quite a bit because there is not enough offense.
Yeah, and pitchers
So
just are not. And we've already kind of seen like the guys that they're gonna rely on. Multiple guys have pitched multiple days already today. Like who? So I missed after the rain delay today. Um, so who threw the eighth and ninth today?
Frazier, Ellard,
So he
and
pitched his first appearance of the year.
yeah, he was pretty good. I mean, he did hit a guy, but
They did not go back to Penn Murphy, did they? Or I saw Bryce Wilson pitch. So Bryce Wilson's pitched twice, Leisure's pitched twice, Murphy's pitched twice, Clevenger's pitched twice. Um, Booser has pitched. So I think everybody's pitched, right? Did Isert pitch today?
he did not pitch
So Booser pitched
today.
today. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Boosters gave up the leading home run on his first pitch
Yeah.
after the rain delay.
Yeah, I saw that. So he's given up 2 bombs so far on the year. The one didn't really matter Thursday.
It did not. It did break up the shutout, but
So if they have, so we saw them go to like Clev for extended action on Thursday, and then they went to Booser, right? Had they had a 3-2 lead, 2-1 lead, who do you think they would have went to close? Because I was under the interpretation that it was going to be Clevenger, but it seems like for the first time in my life, we have a manager who will throw the closer in the eighth if it's like the 3-4-5 hitting, and then go with the lower leverage guy in the nine. I'm not used to this sort of thing, so I don't really have it sorted out yet. Like I don't know what they're gonna do.
yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that they have that lockdown closer guy that they would always go to at the exact time. So I think that kind of makes the setup man role kind of malleable depending on the situation a little bit more.
Yeah,
I mean, there's also the thought that maybe that's just the way that it's going to be, and that's the way that the team's going to be managed. Is that
right.
he's going to do whatever he wants. I don't know. We don't know what Venable's going to do yet. So I mean, I think it's going to be kind of one of those things where we're in a learning time for a little
Yeah.
while to see exactly how he's going to operate when this
Well, I
stuff
think
comes up.
so. There was a situation too today, in the ninth, where I think a lot of fans on Twitter, like you had first and second, and people were wondering why they weren't bunting. Right. I'm not a
Yeah.
bunt guy, so like I'm good with that. I'm also not good with Miguel Vargas swinging at the first pitch right there necessarily. Um, but he ropes a line drive. Nobody's gonna care, right? But when you do that and pop up, you can't really do that. So yeah, there were like those little things. I don't know if that's informative that he's not gonna play for the 1 run basically, and it makes it less likely for you to score. But we'll see. I thought that was just a little bit interesting.
So far we have 17 innings of scoreless ball from the starting pitching. That
Yeah,
is
that's
a
good because Davis.
nice.
Yeah, because Davis was unearned today, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
2 runs
yeah, because he
unearned.
got
Yeah.
a friggin' error right out the chute from a guy who's on the team because of his defense, supposedly.
supposedly. Um, yeah, so we got quality start from Sean Burke on opening day. 6 innings of shutout ball, allows 3 hits, has 3 strikeouts. Jonathan Cannon, not a quality start. And did you get a chance to actually watch that, or were you watching it via app?
What, Saturday?
Yeah. Oh,
Saturday,
you were
I
there.
was there in person. Yeah, so we were down the first base line, really good seats, second row. So I was watching him. He labored, and um, but yeah, I mean, they just couldn't score Saturday. Like I thought, maybe, and I think like eventually these guys I hope they don't feel like the weight of the world on themselves, like feeling like they have to be perfect. But this is kind of what it is at this point. And I do think like obviously like Davis has got good stuff, right? But it's not great stuff. Burke's stuff's above average. I'm really curious to see like Shane Smith, just to see if it's as electric as it's been for like as long as they would want him out there. That's like what I'm curious to see.
Yeah, Baseball Savant will be up on my computer during
Yeah.
the Shane Smith start
I mean,
for
even like
sure.
was Davis Martin's kick change 93 last year?
Uh, I don't.
Because it was
I don't.
93. It was registering 93 today, like
I
on the
don't.
CHSN gun.
Yeah, I don't know if it was quite that hot last year. But it was definitely higher velocity than I was expecting from a changeup. That much I do remember. I'd have to go back and look at some game trackers here and see exactly
Yeah.
where it was last year. But it
hmm
was definitely faster than I thought.
Yeah, like low 90s makes some sense because his fastball got up to 97. That's what makes the pitch so effective. Like in I mean, his slider was really good. Like Davis Martin is good.
Yeah, he's definitely solid. Another quality start today. Um,
Do you know who? Sorry, Max had a question. It's not really a question. He said Jesse Rogers said that the White Sox might put in a waiver request for the former Cub guy. Like, so the Cubs have DFA'd like quite a few people. I don't know if he means Max. If you can clarify, like put it in the chat. Like, do you mean Canario or do you mean one of the pitchers that because they've DFA'd some pitchers like Cody Poteet was DFA'd. That's who they got for Bellinger. I
yeah,
don't know. I could probably find if Jesse Rogers said it somewhere, but it's
I mean, not to throw people that live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, but that Cody Poteet, Cody Bellinger trade at this moment,
yeah, it's a total salary dump.
oh, yeah, it looks terrible.
Yeah, and I mean in theory, I guess they spent the Bellinger money on Kyle Tucker. I don't know, man. Like my Cub fan buddies are livid and they should be. Like
Yeah,
it's just, like they should just, you know, they should be spending more, but also the general manager like has to know the money you have to spend and spend it better. So okay, so Canario, yeah, so Canario's in a weird spot. He's like in the weird DFA limbo, like our guys. Like I don't know where Eater and Fletcher are right now, or like they're like in the um, what's the in Stranger Things like the upside down. That's where they are, I think.
the upside down.
Yeah, well because like Colossus came through right away. Like nope, nobody claimed him. Get to Charlotte, but these other guys, it hasn't really been announced. So I kind of feel like when guys clear, you outright them right away. But when it's like this long, I feel like there's like a trade or a claim somewhere coming generally for some of these guys.
Yeah. Um, I am looking up something right now because uh, there's something I want to talk about later. I'll find it in a little bit. But there was a tweet about the payrolls and revenues of baseball teams, and I just wanted to bring up the image on here. Uh, AJ Przynski was tweeting about it earlier today, and the payroll to revenue disparity of some of these teams is interesting, and I especially wanted to mention it because the Cubs, when you look at their payroll to their revenue, it's
Yeah, they're like
pretty.
third. They're like third in revenue, and they're one of these teams who, like the Ricketts come out and they kind of talk about revenue, but they don't talk about like the non-baseball. You know what I mean? Like all the money they make around the stadium, they don't count any of that, obviously. So yeah, I mean it's just and the White Sox like supposedly have lost money. It's why they're not so. I don't know. Like the whole thing is crazy.
Yes, it is. It's pretty bonkers. I mean, especially you know that they own like a bunch of the businesses right around the park, so that makes it a little bit crazier. I just found it. Let me
Yeah,
go ahead and see
the
if I can't
Jesse
bring that
Rogers
up.
thing or what? Or your
No, no, no.
yeah. So I've
The
seen
payroll thing.
yeah. So apparently Jesse Rogers did mentioned on like the Cubs or the post game show um that the Sox were considering Alexander Canario. So whether that means via trade or just a straight claim, obviously you'd have to add him and move one of these outfielders. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, here it is. Yeesh. You can see there, Cubs bring in almost $600 million a year and spend 213. To me,
Yeah.
that's just you would hope that at least you were living around the 50% mark, which quite a few teams are living in that area. I was just kind of surprised to see that it was such a low percentage. I
Well,
knew it
and
was
my guess is
sort
it's
of low.
more than that too. Like, there's no way it's only 600. Like, I just, it's fine.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that
That might be their baseball revenue.
yeah, that's the thing is that I mean, we really don't know what any of these teams actually generate.
Other than who, like maybe the Braves in Toronto, I think,
I
because
mean,
I think their books are, I don't know,
yeah.
fairly open. But
Yeah, but I mean, then again, who knows? And also, I mean, it came. There was also another thing that happened. I don't. Did you see the Angels thing where they are their stadium is old and they're
oh
trying
yeah,
to get a new one, but
yeah,
they
their stadium's not
didn't get it.
great.
Yeah,
I went there a
and
couple
then
years back.
yeah, and then you hear that there's no building inspections there, and
Mm.
you don't know. Yeah, it's just that's kind of a scary look there. Anyway, so
Yeah, their future is bleak. I mean, you got another high pick coming, right? But you hike these guys to the majors. You have a bottom three farm system, and you really got nothing to hang your hat on. I think this is going to be probably the year where they might have to ask Mike Trout to waive a no trade clause. I would think, just because like I don't know. I don't really understand what the plan is. I mean, obviously Nito is out. Moore is not up yet. I feel like July they'll draft another college guy and rush him, and we have plenty of time to joke about that. But I just don't know. Like, I don't understand like what they're trying to accomplish.
yeah, so we go to the to opening day, and we went to Chicago Sports Bums. We went to their tailgate beforehand. That was a
Yeah,
good time.
it was awesome. Those guys
Yeah,
know how to tailgate.
they really do.
Also,
That was a
Firewater Barbecue is tremendous. I know I mentioned it to you. We have one down here by our house, like in Crest Hill, but we're getting another one in New Lenox, so I'm very excited about that. But there's one in Allsip. I think there's one up in I think the closest one to you is on I think Roosevelt Road in like Glen Ellen or Lombard. It's pretty good though.
okay. It's right down the street. So after that, we go in, we watch some fantastic White Sox baseball, and then the Angels bring in their second round pick.
Yeah. Woof. Welcome to the
Yeah,
big leagues, buddy. But this is like why you don't do stuff like that. You know what like you just like don't want to ruin a kid. And I'm sure he has like the mental fortitude to handle it and whatever. He pitched at Dallas Baptist and I'm sure he'll be fine, but like that sucks. Like
yeah. I don't know. I got into a Twitter war last year over the Angels call up practices, and Angels fans went berserk on me. And then
yeah.
after me saying that it's stupid, they go ahead and pull this.
Yeah, what
No,
yeah. It's they were mad at you about the small sample stuff too though, right? Cuz you said it was stupid to bring up more, which it would have been, and then he went on a heater, which doesn't prove either side, right? But like, it's just like, oh, look at this guy that looks stupid. This guy's, Moore's awesome. Like, and I'm stunned that he's not in the big leagues now, honestly.
me too. But I mean, like what I said to him was that I love Christian Moore, and I would have been fine with the White Sox drafting him. The problem I have is bringing him up that soon and
Yeah,
2 weeks of results in Double A is not going to prove me
y-
wrong when he comes up to
right.
Major League Baseball and struggles.
That was so funny because you saw that dude in person. We did 12 weeks of draft shows, and on most of them, like you told me how good Christian Moore was. And then this happened, and people were like, "Why do you think Christian Moore stinks?" And I'm like, "You guys clearly have not listened to the show.
Yeah. Um,
Why do you hate
so
Christian Moore?"
yes, I'm a Christian Moore hater
Yeah.
for sure. There's mention in the comments about the Alexander Canario thing.
Yeah,
Um,
apparently Jesse Rogers mentioned it on ESPN 1000 that the White Sox are considering a claim, whatever that means. I mean, they're number
hmm,
one on the wire, so I mean, if you want him, he's yours. I mean, it does look. There are other roster things. I mean, you have to get rid of someone. I know, from what we've watched the last 2 days, like it shouldn't be too difficult to pick somebody to get
I
rid
got
of.
one in mind.
Yeah, but it's he would have to play the outfield or DH, and he's another right-handed hitter, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
I mean,
I wouldn't.
Jankowski hits left-handed, so he kind of serves a purpose, you know.
And he's pretty
But
good on defense as
that's what I
well.
mean.
I
So it's
mean,
like not as easy as like it seems, I guess, necessarily.
yeah. This is another thing that I want to that I do
Yeah.
want to bring up at some point here. Um,
Oh yeah. Whew. Yeah, you know
yeah.
more about this than me. So my mother-in-law asked me about this today. She said, "What do you think about the Yankees bats?" And I was like, "They've hit 12 homers in 11 innings." This like escaped me kind of.
So I mean, do you know much about it at
I
all?
know the gist of it that they're using bats and they're technically legal.
No, they are legal, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they did a study with Volpe, and most of the balls that he was missing towards the label of the bat. So what they did was they took the weight of the bat and moved it closer to the label in the wood, so that way they would get more solid contact down lower towards the label. So I mean, the Yankees offense has looked fantastic the last couple of days. The thing that I don't know is, yes, we're looking at a very small sample size here of just a few games. Are the Brewers is the Brewers pitching really that bad? I know Nestor Cortez is probably cooked. That I do know. But he wasn't the only one who got beat up over the last couple of days.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty interesting. We were talking about Cody Bellinger, and the Yankees lineup's good. It has to be because their pitching is like what kind of ravaged after Cole. So, you know, and they're gonna have to trade a bunch of overrated prospects to the Marlins for Sandy Alcantara. So,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see
Yes,
that
they
like
will.
later this summer.
Also Bellinger, Peyton. Uh,
Yes, Bellinger's
Bellinger
usually a
was
pro.
actually the first one that we saw that it came to be like noticed. Bellinger was the first one that got caught with one in spring training. So, I put out a tweet um, that I wanted to see Will from the Bat Bros do like a
Oh, nice.
review
Yeah,
on one of these bats. And anytime you mention the Yankees on Twitter, I had like 4 or 5 guys pop in and be like, "Oh, you're just complaining. They're totally legal." And I'm just like, "Oh, here we go, man."
yeah.
It's like
Of
anytime
course,
you
of course, a White Sox fan would complain. Your
yeah,
team sucks.
yeah, that's the thing is like I wasn't even complaining. I legitimately want to see if it's a
Yeah,
better design
yeah.
and if it's more useful, you
Be
know?
like, how about you guys like get your garbage off the street, pal? How about that? Like
Yeah, stop peeing in the
push
streets.
push that crap back in the alley where nobody can see it.
So Howard asks, any thoughts about Naperville Nicky on the mound in on opening day?
It seemed a little soon. Um little
Ah,
soon for a position player on the mound, but we saw it in person. So that's
hmm.
interesting. So yeah, I mean I feel like what people I know you had kind of a rundown for this show. I think
Yeah.
people want us to skip right to the Knights, I think. Just I feel like we should start big leagues, like anything informative. I mean, the like a lot of some of these guys are guys that we've talked about obviously in the past. 3 of them pitched this weekend and pitched well. So that's interesting. I don't think either of us are surprised about today, just because Davis Martin's really good. Um, I think Sean Burke will have outings where he has more swing and miss stuff than that. Um, but he got the job done.
I also think that there will be games where he has more than 0 walks.
Oh yeah,
I know I'm
like
stepping on a
like
limb there.
7. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
probably. Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, I thought that the pitching for the most part, was pretty spectacular actually, given the thoughts on, like we thought that the pitching wouldn't be a disappointment at all. That we thought that they would outperform at least a little bit, but the bullpens looked pretty stinking good other than
yeah.
Booster's 2 home runs that he's given up.
What helps in starters can go 5 or 6. I think a lot of times, like, you get bombed in 2 1/3, your bullpen's wiped, and there's just way less of these, like, dumpster fire, like, vets that are basically, like, retired guys on the team. You know what? Like last year, this would happen, and it would just it would just be some guy, like, you knew was like Dominic Leone would come in, and you're like, "Oh, no." Where here, it's like, I
Dominic
see the like, I'll do all the joking all year about Brian Bannister because he just likes funky dudes, right? But, I mean, Penn Murphy has a place in the league, and I see what they were looking at with Cam Booser, and, obviously, he might have a little bit of a home run problem, but his stuff is really good. Um, Even, like, goofy ass Clevenger is, like, flailing all over the place, and his stuff is fine, right? So, yeah, like, I think the bullpen's okay, and I think there's a couple of guys at Charlotte that we're gonna get to too that could come up and help. There's also an injury in Charlotte, which isn't great, and I don't know what it is, but I just assume that it's his elbow is falling off at this point. So, we'll see.
It did not look good, I will say that. For those of you that don't know, I did tweet about it earlier today, but probably the next man up from the Charlotte bullpen, Gus Varland, who spent time with the White Sox last year and who P. Knowles made famous on Twitter. Um, he left today with what looked to be him looking at his elbow. I don't know 100% what the injury is. Obviously, I hope that it's not those 2 letters, but we will find out here probably within the next week or so what's
Yeah.
going on.
Did you happen to hear any of Brian Bannister's comments on the radio this weekend?
I did not know.
So it was actually really informative for anybody that wants to go back and listen. Like, he was on with Bruce Levine and David Haw Saturday morning, and he kind of came after the people that are like right away, like, oh, it's your strength program, it's this, and he was like, I don't really have any time for that, like, but he did acknowledge it's the worst spring training that he's ever had with guys with this many going down. And look, he was very honest. He was basically like, look, you have to ramp these guys up to be as good as you can possibly be to maximize to get big league hitters out. And with doing that, things like this happen. Like, guys break, and he also acknowledged that, like, it's not a terrible time for it. It sucks for the guys, but you do it and you come back, and when you're going to take pitching and you're going to build around pitching, it's just like you better bake Tommy John in. Otherwise, like, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah. To answer Max's question, from what I understand, Mason is going to see Dr. Meister on April 1st. So 2 days
Tuesday.
from now,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yeah, we'll probably find out Tuesday
Either
or
either
Wednesday.
way though, like, you're not seeing Mason Adams for a long time. So,
At least a couple of months. At least a couple of months, even if they decide to try and rehab it, which if it is either a rehab or TJ, I hope they just do the TJ because the rehab thing, we've watched that unfold before and it never works. So
yeah, and he's 25, 26, right? Like, I would think that you'd want to get on with it too if you could.
yeah, I kind of think so. Um, so offense wise, uh, not a ton to talk about in the last 2 days. Andrew Vaughn did manage to get his first hit in the ninth inning today, so there's that.
Yeah,
So
so he's smoking baseballs, but they're on the ground and right at people. Like, that doesn't really do anything for me.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'd like him to get the ball in the air a little bit more, but when he has got it in
Yeah.
the air, he's shown off his warning track power.
Well,
So I don't know if
You need
that's
Pac-12 pitching for that to happen, apparently.
yeah. Well, maybe we need to get him a BB core bat from college, and then he'll be able to hit those home runs again because
Yeah.
it has not been working so
So I
far.
will say, if we get pre 2024 Austin Slater, that's a steal of a free agent signing too. Because so like Austin Slater isn't just like some guy that was terrible with the Orioles last year. He had a long history of hitting left-handed pitching, right? And I think we've said this stuff for years, and then it's like, oh, 150 at bats against righties, like totally weighing down like a guy's numbers. I feel like you have the manager in place this time to like optimize the lineup at least. Like if there's a lefty on the mound, Austin Slater should be playing. If there's a righty on the mound, you should not see him unless it's a pinch hit opportunity. And I kind of think that they've kind of done this. It seems like they're going to play Benintendi pretty much every day, which I don't really agree with, but that seems to be the path that you're going. But it seems like platoons kind of everywhere else. And my guess is that Lenine Sosa would have been in 1-2 with Drury or Rojas, but those guys are just, you know, not really on the team right now. I think you might have sacrificed a little bit of defense and played Rojas at shortstop in one of these games and not had Jacob Amaya on your team. I just think these injuries to these three veterans kind of hurt them early on. You know, and we're talking about fringe roster guys at this point anyway, but then you see their backups and you don't score runs against the Angels.
Trey, thanks for popping in, man. Appreciate it. Cheers to you,
I
sir.
also
Thank
didn't
you for the
know,
super chat.
like seeing Jose Soriano in person, he was pretty good yesterday. Like I didn't know his like had that type of stuff.
Yeah, he's got he's a useful player for sure. We appreciate that, Trey. Thank you so much. Um, so the last thing that I wanted to touch on here, and you kind of brought it up just a minute ago. The last thing I wanted to talk about is Will Venable. And as you mentioned, like it's so nice to not see a guy that no matter who's pitching, you don't have the lineup alternating left, right, left, right, left, right, just because like that's who your personnel is. Oh, well, this guy needs to play this day just because it's his time to get in. So we're gonna go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, just as a an old school type of thing. It's nice to see a guy that's doing the platoon correctly and making like what seem to be informed decisions. It's crazy idea, I know, but things have looked pretty good so far. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that Chris Getz in like a interview with somebody said that he like brought it up willingly. He said like I think that we can find platoon advantages, which great. Like yeah, I mean you have bad players, so you kind of have to, right? But I mean like I just think it's kind of like if Travis Jankowski is batting against a lefty, I'm gonna question the manager, right? Like the same type of stuff. I think Talkman's got pretty good splits against both, so he would have been fine, but he's not playing. Rojas, pretty good against righties. Sosa, really good against lefties. It just seems like they're gonna do this. And if you're gonna be bad, well, you might as well optimize the lineup and try to maximize everybody like as best as you can. I had a question from a follower on Twitter this week that was kind of asking me because I've said that part of their plan is for them to be bad enough to get a, top 3 lottery odds, right? Obviously. But that's a front office problem, right? Because the same follower asked me like, "Oh, well, why are they going through with all this stuff with Fuller and optimizing and all this stuff when you could have just kept the old guys and been top their bottom 3 bad?" I think because like you still want to maximize all the talent that you have and all the young guys and everything else going forward. It's the general manager's job to, get rid of the players and bring in prospects and get worse. Like the players and the manager should try to win every day.
I don't think that it was ever in question that regardless of whether or not you maximize the talent that is on your roster, with this roster, the team is still going nowhere.
Oh my God. Dude, if they won 65 games, I would like. I mean, I tweeted on Thursday that Will Venable's manager of the year. I'd seen enough, right? Like, I was kidding, but like, I mean, like it's 60 wins is like a 20 game improvement.
Yeah, if they won 65, like
A freaking
that would be
miracle with
something.
this team. Yeah, right? I think it would be a lot of September wins with kids, right? But fine. That would be great.
Indeed, indeed. So you ready to move over to AAA? You see anything in chat that you wanted to talk about right quick?
Oh, yeah, I don't think I noticed anything. I mean, I did hear like they were very active trade-wise, like just with talks, like right. And I think that's bottom of the roster guys. I don't think there's like any sort of Luis Roberts stuff going on just because like that's a little bit crazy. But I do like Robert taking some pitches. He tagged up twice today, so he's definitely playing like a guy that wants to get traded to a playoff team. That's for sure, right? And he's always going to have his, oh darn, Luis Robert just swung at three straight pitches and one of them was a bad slider thing. He's always going to do that. But I do think he looks a little bit better at least.
Max says, I made a bet with my friend who is a Yankees fan that the Sox will win more games than Judge will hit homers for
Ooh,
$20. You just lost $20.
ooh,
Sorry.
oh man,
Yeah.
you better hope for like an oblique
What's he
pull
got?
or
Like 7 home runs
yeah,
already or something?
you need like an oblique strain.
Yeah. That is oof. And I didn't draft him 1-1. I had the number 1 pick and I picked Otani, which doesn't appear to be a bad pick.
Yeah, that'll be
Uh,
fine.
but
Have you seen Roki Sasaki?
I did not.
I
He's on
think
my fantasy team as well, and I did not watch
I
it.
think he's going to be pitching in Oklahoma City. That might be controversial, but like he just looks like not ready.
He did not throw any strikes.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see another start for
Yeah.
sure to make a determination. I know that his strike to his ball to strike ratio was not good.
Well, and pitching every 5 days, like I don't know if if he's doing that or if they're like using a 6-man or whatever, but it kind of reminded me of the scene in Kingpin where he said that he bowls 15 frames, right, to get the 200 average. I'm like, oh, every 5 days, like this is
Yeah,
how am I doing this? Sorry, I don't know if anybody like that's streaming has any idea what Kingpin is, but that's okay.
I mean, if well, I would like to think that that we're good here.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe Uncle
you
Ted.
know,
Where's Uncle Ted?
Grandpa always said, we do 1.5 times the work.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
all right. So moving along to the White Sox AAA affiliate, the Charlotte Knights open their series, their season on Friday here, and we've gotten 3 games, and so far the Knights are 3-0 and are averaging 10 runs a game, largely on the back of Kyle Teal, but we'll get to that in a moment. Um, Obviously, Kyle Teal's the big story of this weekend. Um, so we'll get to that. I just wanted to bring up the starting pitching here because we started the White Sox with starting pitching, and I wanted to start the Knights with starting pitching just cause. So the guy who got 1 out in spring training in 3 or 4 appearances managed to pitch 3 innings, and he got the opening start for the Knights. Um, it was not great, but it was 3 shutout innings, and I'll take that out of a Chris Rodriguez. Granted, they're playing against the Braves
Yeah, there's
AAA
not
affiliate.
a prospect in sight.
Their lineup, and what I said to Sleepy when the lineups came out, I said, think 2016 Charlotte Knights is essentially what we're looking at here, and it's like all. I mean, there's quite a few. There's actually one that was probably on the 2016 White Sox, and Eddie Alvarez.
I saw that. Yeah, he was playing for the like. That's rough, man. I think
Yeah, he
their
just
only regret is that they only got to play him 3 times instead of 6.
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Uh, Eddie Alvarez hit his first home run of the year this today, and ended up hitting some lady who wasn't paying attention. Ended up hitting her in the face when she was walking
Yikes.
and dropped her. It was
That's not good.
ugly. But moving along here, so Jared Schuster got the win on Friday. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 1 run, struck out 6. He looked pretty good. Addison Coffey pitched 2 innings, struck out 3. Gus Varland pitched an inning, a scoreless inning. Um, we'll see what happens with Gus Varland. I'm not too optimistic
Yeah.
seeing how he was looking at his arm, but we'll see.
Well, I think Coffey's like moving up the totem pole here. I think we're gonna see Addison Coffey. He's got lots of fans in that front office. I do think they're careful to like, you know, you don't want to add him to the 40-man prematurely, right? But you're at the point now where like he can help you. He can be one of those guys, that is up there and helping. So, yeah, I mean the bullpen is, I don't know, probably going to get more work than we were anticipating because the rotation is already ravaged due to the spring training injuries. I mean, I don't want to say that we don't care about any of these guys, but obviously, like Nick Nastrini and Jairo Iriarte are like the prospects in the group. And when you lose a Mason Adams and a Kai Bush and all these other guys, you end up starting Chris Rodriguez. Um, you know,
But on the opening night,
my
that's
thought
what I
is,
was like, what is going on here?
I think they were going to start Eater.
Hmm.
Is my thought. And then they were like, oh, the general manager just DFA'd him. Like, because he was lined up. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, McGough is down there. Steven Wilson's down there. And we'll see, right? We'll see what Birmingham looks like. We obviously know the 3 big dogs at Birmingham. But I mean, that does leave, Riley Gowans and Tyler Schweitzer. They're not throwing a 6-man rotation in Birmingham, and I don't think they're moving either guy to the bullpen. So maybe there is, some chance that somebody else shows up in Charlotte here. But look, the Knights did what I think both of us have always just kind of like, if you're going to play at home, score 10 runs in that place. Just bash people. I could get used to that.
I also could. On Saturday, Nick Nastrini started, and he got 4 innings in. Technically, it's 4 innings plus because he pitched really well for the first 4 innings. Um, I think he gave up. I can't remember what it was. I think it was 2 runs he gave up before the 5th inning, but he came out for the 5th inning, gave up 2 singles, and then oh man, now I'm trying to remember. I had it all in a. I was talking to Elijah about it. Now I'm completely spacing. Oh, then he had a throwing error to first base on a ball hit to him. Threw it into right field. 2 runs scored, and then he threw a wild pitch after that, and then gave up a double, and then they yanked him. So the 5th inning went horribly wrong for Nick, but he looked pretty good through 4 innings. Had 6 strikeouts and only had given up a few hits. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that Nick Nastrini hasn't converted to relief yet, but I guess when you have the injuries you have, it's like, okay, well, let's probably keep starting him for now. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Those are the 2 guys though. And then I am curious to see Owen White too, just if they've been able to do anything with him. What I think Dunn is.
Justin Dunn as well.
I think Dunn is in the rotation too. I'm
He
just
is.
not. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. So those guys will get Tuesday, Wednesday starts. Where are they? Where are they headed Tuesday?
Oh, I forget.
I know. I didn't remember either. But
Yeah, I've been. I haven't gotten out in front of things quite yet. Like I'm still running
yeah.
a little
Well, if there's
bit.
any White Sox personnel listening, I know there's not, but I would love minor league rosters. Any day that would be great. That would help me. I won't even tell anyone. I just like to write previews.
That is, they're going to play the Norfolk Tides.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's
At least it's not in Charlotte.
and at least they don't have the same guys on the Norfolk Tides that they did last year,
They
because
don't.
last year that was
Yeah.
the
You
worst.
looked at that system lately? Not
It's
great.
not that great now that they've
Not great.
promoted all their guys.
Yeah. And they blocked a bunch of them and they didn't trade any of them for good pitchers. It's unfortunate.
I don't know what they're doing over there. That's a poorly run situation over there
Even
for
though
sure.
the older Japanese pitcher they signed was pretty good, I believe. Tumayoku Sugano or whatever. Like
Hmm.
they've just like
Sagano.
they just like put a bunch of this fringe pitching together, and we will see what happens.
Oh, is Gunnar Henderson going to be there on rehab?
Oh yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay, well, that's not the best.
so they'll see him.
So today, Jairo Iriarte played. He started for the Knights. Was all over the place. Um, Super high pitch count, escalating pitch count, a lot of full counts. Um, yeah, it was not his best start. I have to say it did look like he was working on
It
something.
100% did. And what I watched, like I know that they want him. Like his stuff is not as electric as it was when they traded for him. So like, what are they working on him? Working with him to do, because he just looks uncomfortable, like he's trying to change something back to what he was doing before.
Yeah, it did. He did not look quite. I mean, he didn't look as good as he did in Birmingham
No. And I
last
know that
year.
we can like do this all the time, and like, people can bemoan that trade and whatever, like Thorpe is hurt, but I mean, worst case scenario, if they decided that Jairo Iriarte is a reliever, I mean, I think he picks up 4 or 5 ticks potentially. I mean, I think he's 98 to 99 out of the bullpen with a nasty breaker. So, he still has to throw strikes. That doesn't mean that he's going to be good necessarily. I just think that stuff improves if you tell him to go out 3 times a week and throw as hard as you can.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Um,
But he's another one he's like a Sean Burke type where it's like, oh my god, he looks so good on Tuesday, and then he starts again Sunday and walks 8 and 2 1/3. Like it's just the command escapes him.
yeah, that is pretty much the most accurate description you could give of Iriarte is that he's a lot like Sean Burke was in the minors for sure.
Yeah, very similar.
Um, so anywho, moving along here to the offense here. As I mentioned, the big star of this weekend for the Charlotte Knights was Kyle Teal. He came out and just absolutely raked the entire weekend. He only went 1 for 3 today, but what he did in the first 2 games was enough to make him pretty much the MVP of the weekend here.
Yeah, and the power can really like put him over the top, because I think he's gonna catch for sure. I think he's gonna hit for sure. But if he adds a little, because I think he hit what 15 minor league homers last year, but 13 of them were in Double A. So I mean, if he's a 20 to 25 home run guy and catches, that's why he's as highly regarded as he is. I mean, Caro's the same way, right? Like, and I think you're splitting hairs. Like, if you want to compare, like they're both catchers. So I'm kind of glad that they're both catching and DHing, and they haven't even bothered playing them at other spots. It's just not really time for that. But it is interesting. Like I don't hate the White Sox catching situation in the big league level. It's not like I'm pressing to get rid of either of these two guys to like rush Teal up here. Like if you had a functional team, I think a Corey Lee, Matt Thice combo like isn't terrible. Like I think even what I've seen out of Matt, is it Thice or Tice? Thice, right?
Thrice,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what I've seen out of him is like decent lefty bat. He takes a ton of pitches. Like he's gonna walk. He doesn't really have much power. Um, but I mean, this is like the first time I think in my life that they've had this many playable catchers.
Yeah, so 6 to Midnight brings up a good question here, and I was actually thinking about this earlier today while I was watching the game. So you've got Caro and Teal, and currently you are looking at Caro with a 455 average with a 1,116 OPS, and you've got Kyle Teal, who's hitting 500 with a 1654 OPS. Both of them are hitting well. Both of them are catching well. say you were to, and this goes along with everybody's conversation on Twitter, because everybody's seeing the Teal highlights that I keep on putting up. If you bring him up, everybody is automatically assuming, are we going to say that Theis is really better than Teal and we need to keep Teal? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Are you really saying that Corey Lee wouldn't be replaced either? I mean, it's not like you look at either one of those guys and you're like, oh, that's the catcher of the future. Corey Lee's okay,
Right.
but I mean, just because he's hitting 300 or whatever right now, we've seen what Corey Lee is as well. So I wouldn't automatically assume that it's going to be Corey Lee that they keep.
No, I think that's the guy that gets traded, honestly. I think if somebody, because like Getz didn't remember, again, old front office traded for Corey Lee. And he's doing his part. Like he's fine. But Corey Lee's not the prospect these two guys are. He's just not. Like I still think Corey Lee's probably an offensive minded backup. Um, ultimately. So
Yeah.
we shall see.
Yeah, so both of those guys, granted the power hasn't shown up for Caro yet. I think he's got one double and the rest are singles.
Yeah, he'll
Meanwhile,
get there.
yeah, 100%. Like, me and Elijah were the two that put Caro ahead of Teal on our top 30s. And I like Caro's power. Everybody says that Teal has more power than Caro.
I don't think
I
so.
guess, I guess we'll see. Yeah,
I
that's what
don't
I
think so.
said.
I
But
think I think Teal I think Teal's more likely to be above average defensively. But I think they're both definitely catchers. So, you know.
yeah, that's fine. I'll give you that, but I still think Caro's very good catcher. So, um, I just like it that he's a switch hitter, and I thought that the power would definitely come at some point. Just so happens that Teal has, and I will say this: the two home runs that Teal's hit have both been like 365. So it's not like he's hitting, like 420-foot moonshots or anything like that. These are line drives that just so happen in Charlotte
Yep.
happen to get over the fence.
Yeah,
So
they're Queen
that's
City homers.
yes,
That's
this
what
that is something else that everybody does definitely need to pay attention to. Yes, is he hitting the crap out of the ball? Yes.
I think
Uh
Mydros would have got over the Green Monster, right?
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, it was
His was
almost 400
his
feet.
his was a blast.
Yeah. 393. 105.3 miles an hour. He demolished that thing.
So I will
Um
say I've heard a little bit from White Sox beat writers that is one of the things that the White Sox kind of want him to do. They like the walks, don't get me wrong, but they want him to punish pitches, in his whatever heat zone is that all of their new data and metrics are showing him, right? Like, yeah, we love the walks, but if you can hit balls like that, swing more, basically. So
it's like you know, somebody on the White Sox who's been there for years pulls Chase Mydroth,
I know.
Mydroth off to the side. See, we've got these things that are called analytics. Maybe you've heard of them. I don't know. But they say that you hit the ball really well right here. So you should probably swing at that and hit that hard.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah. I mean, so Corey Lee was on today actually with Matt Spiegel, and he was just talking about how different it is from like when he got here to now, the stuff that he has access to. Like they're like, so what do you like about this year? He's like, well, the manager's different. That's like the first thing he brought up. It's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, first off, that has to be just like night and day difference of how the clubhouse is run. It's just got to be so much different. I don't have 100% confirmation on that, but I mean, I just have to imagine seeing Pedro fumble
Yeah.
through in the last couple of years.
The
Oof.
the big leaguer thing does help. Like the fact that Venable played in the big leagues is helpful.
Yeah.
I
Ugh.
don't think it's a requirement necessarily because there's plenty of guys that didn't that are good at this, but you can't act the way the last guy did if you didn't play in the big leagues.
This is a great question,
F-
Vince.
South Florida
Where
somewhere.
did Griffall end up? I don't know.
I know his
He's probably
buddy. Who's his
kicking
buddy? The
back with
hitting.
Rick Hahn.
Who's his buddy? The hitting guy. That he
Uh,
to Mike Tosar.
Tosar.
I think is scouting for the Dodgers.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
the other guys, I think, are all not currently employed. All of Pedro and his guys.
Yep, kicking back on the beach with Rick Hahn somewhere. Um, so I know that you
51
don't.
minutes in, we're finally getting here.
Yeah, I know. I said that it would show up in
We
the
didn't bury the
in the
lead.
show.
Yes. Or, well, we
Yeah.
did kind of.
So Colson Montgomery has started off slow to say the least. I didn't look exactly at the number of at bats. I think it's 13. Is it 12?
I think
12?
it was
12 or
10
13.
coming. It was 10 coming into today.
Okay, so that's 15 at bats. He's got what is
A
that
homer,
like?
a homer, 2 hit by pitches, and I think he struck out every other
Oh,
time.
yeah, it's well, no, I think he's got like 3 ground outs or something. But yeah, it hasn't been pretty. Lots of swing and miss. The home run was pretty good. It wasn't crushed by any means. Um,
It was opposite field. It was pretty nice, but
yeah, no, that
Another
to
Charlotte
me
homer though.
it kind of, he hit it like 390 feet or something. So I mean, it was
Yeah,
hit well, and it was opposite field, which, well, to left center, so it wasn't completely opposite field, but it's where he should be hitting the ball, and
yeah.
he hit it there. And I said that that was a positive thing when we talked about it. The issue being that everything else, he's either whiffing on
Yeah,
or
how many of the strikeouts are looking? Do you know?
only a couple
Yeah.
that I can remember. It's been
Cuz
a
that was
lot,
the
a lot of
problem. That was
swinging.
the problem before. It's just a lot of Moncada like taking pitches like that sort of thing. Um and who knows, right? He had the back thing and I just think it's just going to be a little bit. It does seem like though the first heater he goes on, I think we're going to see him in Chicago. I don't know if you and I necessarily agree with that. It just kind of
Nope.
seems like what they had planned and what they want to do. I mean, and then obviously we'll get into my draft here in a second. Like, I don't really know what they're waiting for with him personally, but they sent him down for some reason. Whether it be, hey, we can't add anybody else to the 40 man right now because of all these injuries, or we want you to go work on this, this, and this. Um, I don't really get it because I expect him to do exactly what he did last year, like again this year, playing at that level.
Yeah, it's it's as mentioned here in the chat, it is hard. It's been hard to watch, and like they say, life is what happens when you're making plans. So the White Sox can make all their plans for Colson Montgomery they want, but if he does not show that he belongs there, I don't care what their plans were.
Yeah.
So,
What did you make of
uh,
him playing third today with my draft at short?
you know, I didn't really make too much of it, to be honest, because they did it in spring training as well, and I kind of think that they want to get Mydroth innings there,
Yeah.
especially with Jacob Amaya, the first play that he
Hopefully
had.
on his last days. My goodness gracious.
Oh, that was
Well,
that
so
was brutal.
they don't want to play Brooks at shortstop, right? That's pretty clear at this point.
I guess so, because he did it in spring training, did it last year, played a pretty decent shortstop, and they have not put him there. So that is my guess as well.
Yeah, like I thought he could have made that play at second in the first inning today. And then he had another one with the same inning that like went between his legs when he was covering second. I think that was probably more on the pitcher. Um, but I mean, yeah, like if you're Brooks Baldwin in the role that you're in, like you got to be pretty good defensively everywhere. He played right field in game 2, which look I thought was, get all the lefties in the lineup somehow,
Yeah.
and they got him in right field. So that was a little bit interesting. But look, we said that about Brooks. Like I don't want to say that he's not as important as the other guys, but super utility role is like what he's going to be. So I'm fine with him being a guy who doesn't necessarily play every day, but he's in a super utility role in the big leagues. Like I think that's totally fine for him.
I just wanted to address this here.
Yeah, it's not that.
It's not August 1st. It's like June something, right?
It's not even that. I think he's just got to be down. He's on the 40 man. I think
Well,
he's just got to
yeah,
be.
yeah,
I
I
think
know
he's just
that,
got.
but
I think
just
he's just
the
got to. Honestly, I think it's like he's got to be down 20 days. So basically, a year of service. Um, I'd have to look and see what a year of service is.
yeah, I thought it was in like May that
Yeah. So
it kicks over.
yeah, it usually is. So whatever, like the. I'd have to look at the actual math. I think it's like 172 days is a year of service. So you literally bring him up past like what would like it could be 170 days and you steal the seventh year basically. So yeah, it's May 15th, something like that. Like,
So
it
it's
won't be a
6 year
problem.
now
So
after the last
well,
collective
so
bargaining.
no, it's still so this year would technically be year 7 if you think about it that way, and then you get 6 more after this
Gotcha. Okay.
because they wouldn't qualify
Right, right,
for
right.
the year if they come up late enough, and it's going to be a thing. I mean, with none of these guys are going to get a year of service. You
Not
could
this year.
argue like my draw like doesn't really matter because that's not a guy that you're going to be like haggling over, right? But I mean, if Kyle Teal's an all-star catcher, like the extra year might come in handy.
What's the PPI pick?
Yeah, so
how
that's
many do they have to be eligible?
yeah, that's weird too. So the Pirates brought up Skeens not in time for it last year. I think they brought him up too late. That's something weird too. That's like 25 days or 20, something like that. And you have to be on 2 of 3 top 100 lists, and Colson is, Teal is, all the Sox guys are on at least 2 of them. So essentially, what that means is like if the White Sox brought up Kyle Teal tomorrow and he won Rookie of the Year somehow, the White Sox would get like the 30th pick in the 2026 draft. So that's it's not nothing.
Okay, so they must be have fewer than 60 days of prior MLB service. Okay, so
Yeah,
basically any of the guys that the White Sox bring up, if they
right.
win Rookie of the Year, any of the big
As long as
prospects
they were
anyway
on
are
those
going to
lists,
get it.
yeah. So those top 6
Yeah.
guys were all on 2 of 3 lists.
Yeah,
And
I just couldn't
I
remember
think
what
it's
the
ESPN Baseball America and MLB Pipeline.
okay. Yeah, so I don't know. The Montgomery
Hey,
thing
there's Uncle Ted.
it's not the
Where
best.
where you been, buddy? We're gone. We're done.
Like we were talking about this off air before we came on. Obviously, not an ideal situation, but again, we're only three games in here, and I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. I think that at some point, it's not going to be time to say that yet. But right now is not the time that we should be saying that.
Yeah, no. I think like the defense has been okay, I think, which is like the one thing that I thought would not be, right? I thought like, oh my god, he's got to move to a corner and the bat's not good enough in a corner. I mean, if he can play shortstop, like the bat's good enough. So,
Yeah,
we'll ultimately see. I do think another guy that's like kind of in limbo right now is Brian Ramos. Like supposedly he looks awesome, like in Arizona.
it's hitting. Yeah,
Yeah, like he looks really good in Arizona. I don't know how quickly, but I mean, my guess is he's the third baseman in Charlotte at least for the first month, and then you kind of figure it out from there. So that team is about to get even better because you're gonna have the 2 catchers, Montgomery, Ramos, Mydroth, and a whole host of veteran 4A type minor leaguers that if you're playing home games in that ballpark, you know, you put
yeah.
up 10 runs on teams.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this year. I feel like we actually have like an offense that's worthy of, one of those top prospect systems, which we haven't had pretty
Yeah.
much for
Did you notice?
ages.
Did you notice in anything in 3 games as far as like the coaching staff that's there? It's kind of hard to tell. It's too soon, I think.
Well, it's Sergio Santos,
I know
so
they have a highly regarded manager there, and 2 guys in the hitting and pitching roles that are very much veterans to the development system type stuff. So
well, uh, I will say this: the pitching changes. Sergio's definitely seems like he's got a pretty firm grasp on when he knows when he needs to pull somebody. It doesn't.
yeah, well he
I
should,
don't
shouldn't he?
feel.
I mean,
I mean, you would think,
Yeah,
but I feel that he's very deliberate on when he does things, and I feel like I feel like he's going to be a player favorite
yeah,
down there for sure. Um,
yeah.
I mean, it's
Cool.
for me, you know how I feel about previous management in that organization down there, and I feel that this one's going to work out well.
For sure. So obviously we'll find out soon, maybe even within the next 48 hours. But the way that they've been talking about Birmingham, you think it's Schultz Friday, Hagen Saturday, Taylor Sunday, or do they like spread those guys out for some reason? I don't really know, because I know
That's a
Wickelman Gonzalez is there as well, and you likely have one vet between Gowans and because they open what the fourth, so they're gonna play. They're basically gonna do what Charlotte did this week, where they play 1 3-game series.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting. I'm interested to see how they play this. Um, Whether or not, they bring in Taylor in relief in the first week just to get him in there to get everybody kind of rolling on starts,
Oh God,
possibly. I don't know.
don't do that. I mean, I'm fine with it, but I just don't want to answer the questions about whether he's like an eighth inning guy or something.
Well, we'll get that question regardless.
I
They'll be
know.
like, "When?
Yeah.
So are we just going to bring him up and put him in
Yeah.
the bullpen this
Well,
year?"
no, but
No.
it is an interesting storyline though, I think, because I thought they were gonna kind of slow play him and do the Schultz thing, and you can't do that like in Birmingham with these other guys on 5-day turns. So I'm just really fascinated. And the other thing is, like, I know people think this is gonna be really slow and really torturous, and they're not gonna be good again until 2030. But look, man, like the team has these three guys in Birmingham. This thing could be a rocket ship. And like I'm not kidding. Like it I think it indicates that 2026 kind of matters a little bit more than I think other people have thought, just cuz like there's nowhere for these guys to go. If they're really good, they're going to be in the big leagues like really soon.
Yes, Jack. The other minor league levels start on Friday. Although the FutureSox showdown is on Wednesday in Winston-Salem between Kannapolis and Winston-Salem as like kind of a kickoff thing
Ooh, we should have
for
rosters
those two
though then.
guys. Yeah, well, hopefully we should finally have rosters by that point. Maybe not. Jeff will just show up over there and he'll be like, "Oh, look who's here." But we did one thing I wanted to mention here. Um, is that we did have a Zoom call here with Paul Janish earlier this week, and we did find out some things here about some of the personnel that's going to some of these places. Uh, some interesting things here is that we've got a very interesting outfield in Kannapolis. So we've got Braden Montgomery, George Woolco, and Nick McLean as three guys, and I'm sure that there'll be some other people that are there as well in the outfield, but those three
Yeah.
specifically are
Well, it
there.
seems like the infield's interesting too. Like the infield in Kannapolis is going to have Caleb Bonnemer and Javier Mogallon, and there's like a whole bunch of other former international signings that are just roaming around these, like lower. And I like my guess is Albertus is there at third, like whenever that happens. So yeah,
Whenever his leg has
yeah,
been,
yeah.
if it
I mean,
doesn't get amputated.
apparently he's hitting in Arizona, but yeah, I mean the Kannapolis team is super interesting, and like I don't expect Montgomery to be there long because he should demolish that level. But we'll see. He hasn't played yet at all.
Yeah, so uh yeah, we haven't so it's said that Mogollon is going to eat up some innings at shortstop, but that Caleb Bonnemer is going to be taking
Yeah.
most of the time at shortstop. So we don't know what's going to be happening there. And Adrian asks a good question about Ryan Burrows as well. I don't know if he's going to be in Canny or Winston. I'm kind of interested. Did mention him, didn't he?
I don't know if they mentioned Burrows,
Hmm.
but I mean, he's a utility guy if he's in Canny, so he could go to like the Winston. The Winston team is the team that I'm the most unsure of, like who's there essentially. Other than it seems like Harel Perez um and Antonacci are the middle infield there.
Yeah. So hopefully they manage to get us those rosters here
Yeah.
sooner than later,
And then
because this is always
You'll have
tough.
Saki and Zavala in the outfield in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there's another one there that they let
Eddie
on,
Park
but
or somebody probably. I mean,
Eddie Park will probably be
you
there.
have multiple guys that are, you know, in the outfield.
Yeah, that's going to be. I mean, they're always so like tight-lipped about these assignments for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't even want to divulge the guys that Fegan was drilling him on.
I know,
You
and
know,
James was doing his part, man. Like he's got to write up at Sox Machine with his interpretation of where all these guys are going. The one really interesting thing too, and I know we're over a little bit here, is just some of the day three college guys that they got last year who are probably not big time prospects, right? But like, did they all go back to Kannapolis, or does that make up your team at Winston with your Alec McCarowitzes and your who's your guy,
Makarevics.
Matskarevitz? Yeah, Lyle. Who's the guy that was in college,
Oh, Lyle
the
Miller
Russian that
Green,
was in college for
LMG,
7 years.
light
Yeah,
machine gun.
yeah, like he'll be maybe first base in Kannapolis or somewhere like, So
He had said he was
just
going to
trying
throw
to.
some bullpens, and
I
I don't know
know.
if he ever did or not. Hi, Danny. Nice to see you. Welcome in. An hour and 7 minutes in,
Yeah,
Danny
we're
Miller.
done. Grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah, and Caden Connor. I mean, there's a. I'm interested to see where they put these guys, because I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot of room in Birmingham
Yeah,
from what moved up to Charlotte, so I don't know like where are these guys going to go. I mean, there
yeah,
wasn't a ton that was going to
and I
move
do
up,
think
but
some of the college corner types are just, it's like, okay, go to Birmingham and see if you're anything, right? Because Birmingham is like loaded with pitching and loaded with utility players. Basically, that's like their team. I feel like, like I know that, everybody kind of talked about who's the return from Philly, Bergoya. Like everybody
Burgoya, yeah,
talks about how great he was, and that's fine, right? But he's still a fairly light hitting middle infielder. And then you're going to have Jacob Gonzalez there, and then you have Riku. Obviously, it seems like in a super utility role. So,
yep.
but there's not really much thump in that Birmingham lineup.
No, there's not. Somebody asked earlier how Jacob Gonzalez has been. He has not played yet, so when I see him, I'll let you know. You got anything else this week, James? Well, alrighty then. I don't see anything crazy going on in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and walk us out here. You have been watching / listening to the Future Sox podcast. If you are listening to this in podcast form, know that you can find us every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube and the Purple app. You can also find this podcast along with all of our written content at FutureSox.net. If you are looking for White Sox prospect highlights, you can find them on our X at FutureSox, and now also here on our YouTube channel. If you love the content and want to support us here at FutureSox, there is a link to our Patreon in our channel description and at FutureSox.net. You can also toss up a super chat on our YouTube stream. Also, don't forget to like this stream and subscribe with notifications so you know when we're going live, while helping us in the worldwide web algorithms. My name is Ian Eskridge. He's James Fox at JamesFox917. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for listening and commenting in the chat. You guys drive it. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out, and we will catch up with you guys next week. Have a great one.